Everyone carries a light within, a lamp that shines on the voice of the heart. Here, let's share those hidden emotions, let go of all restraints, and listen to our most authentic inner voice. Welcome to HR Whispers, walking with you so your soul will never feel alone. Have you ever had this experience? You're in a conversation with someone who insists they're right. No matter what you say, you just can't get them to change their mind. When this happens with people you can't easily avoid, like family members, friends, or colleagues, it can feel especially awkward and frustrating. You might find yourself thinking, why is this person always so stubborn? Or I know I'm right, but no matter how I explain, it doesn't matter. The truth is, situations like this don't happen by chance. They're often the result of both the other person's stubborn attitude and our own ineffective responses, together making the situation even more tense and stuck. So how should we handle stubborn people in a rational way? How can we stay calm, communicate effectively, and help them cool down without letting the conflict escalate? Today, I'll share some practical tips to help you protect your emotions when talking with someone who refuses to budge. Communicate without losing your composure and dissolve awkwardness and conflict in a sensible way. First, we need to understand the traits of stubborn people. Only by recognizing their psychology and behavior can we find the right strategies to communicate, making the conversation smoother and more effective. First, these people often struggle with a lack of self-esteem deep down. On the surface, they may appear confident, even decisive and firm in social situations. But inside, they're deeply afraid of having their views questioned or denied. To avoid this, they cling to their own positions as a way to cover up their insecurity, using stubbornness as self-protection. Second, they tend to treat their own opinions as absolute truth. Because they're caught in confirmation bias, they actively seek information that supports their beliefs while rejecting anything that challenges them. Whether by avoiding opposing views or twisting arguments to defend themselves, they refuse to accept or even consider different perspectives. As a result, they hold tightly to their stance and resist constructive communication. Third, deep down, they have a strong need for validation. They long to prove they're right in front of others and crave recognition and approval. When this need isn't met, or when their views aren't acknowledged during a debate, they become even more stubborn, sometimes escalating the argument further. Behind it all lies a hidden emotional desire, the need to be accepted and respected. Story 1. First, acknowledge the other person's point of view. The effect can be amazing. One evening, Mr. Johnson and his wife, Emily, were sitting in the living room, sipping hot tea and chatting. A few days earlier, Mr. Johnson had brought up the idea of replacing their refrigerator, saying it was time to upgrade their appliances. The problem was that Mr. Johnson firmly believed that only one brand was the best. He insisted it was the top choice. "Hey, right now this brand is the best. My friend bought it too." Mr. Johnson said loudly, raising his voice. Emily wanted to sigh, but she held it in. She knew her husband's stubbornness couldn't be changed with ordinary persuasion. "Well, you've got a point. That brand really is pretty good." Emily nodded, first accepting his opinion at that moment. Mr. Johnson looked pleased and proud of himself, but Emily knew she couldn't just end the conversation there. "But, other brands have made a lot of progress too. Why don't we compare them together and see if you might end up with an even better choice?" she suggested. Mr. Johnson froze for a moment and hesitated. Really? Then he picked up his phone and started searching information about different refrigerators. Emily's response included two very important psychological strategies. First, to lower her husband's defenses. She showed empathy, saying, "Well, you've got a point," was an example of empathetic listening. When someone feels acknowledged, they let down their guard and become more open to dialogue. Second, instead of directly refuting him, she offered an opportunity for joint decision-making. "Why don't we look at the other brands together?" gave Mr. Johnson the sense that the choice was his own, aligning with the principle of self-determination theory. People feel more satisfied and confident when they believe they've made the decision themselves. As the Chinese philosopher Confucius once said, "To calm anger and discipline the heart is the way to protect oneself." In her conversation with Mr. Johnson, Emily skillfully avoided an argument and gently softened his stubborn attitude. In fact, this was also her way of protecting her own peace of mind. We often encounter stubbornness in communication with those closest to us. In such moments, rather than arguing about who's right or wrong, it's better to use understanding and guidance to find better solutions together. In family communication, what matters most isn't who wins the argument. It's how we understand each other and move forward together. That day, Emily's words to her husband weren't just persuasion, they were an expression of love. When Mr. Johnson later admitted, "You're right, we could consider these other options," she felt a warm smile rise in her heart and gently said, "That's you, my husband." Today, I hope you too can bring more warmth and wisdom into your conversations with the people around you, because every word we speak has the power to create miracles. Story 2: Everyone thinks differently. Try saying this sentence. You'll be surprised at how powerful it can be. One weekend evening, David was out having drinks with friends he hadn't seen in a long time. The long-awaited gathering was filled with laughter and light-hearted conversation, but when the topic shifted to politics, the atmosphere suddenly grew tense. Michael began passionately voicing his opinion. "I've said it before. This is the only right way. The country has to be run like this," Michael declared, his tone intense and unwavering. David sighed inwardly, knowing that arguing would only make things worse. After a pause, he calmly said, "Everyone thinks differently. I'll take your opinion into consideration." It was just one simple sentence, but the effect was remarkable. Michael immediately realized he might have been a bit too heated. He softened his tone and said quietly, "Yeah, you're right. That's another way to look at it." The atmosphere instantly returned to being relaxed. Everyone thinks differently may sound simple, but it carries great power. When someone believes they are always right, they tend to cling even harder to their views. This is what psychology calls confirmation bias, seeking out only the evidence that supports one's own position, while rejecting anything that contradicts it. But when David said, "Everyone thinks differently," he didn't dismiss Michael's opinion. Instead, he effectively diffused the tension of the debate. At the same time, adding, "I'll take your opinion into consideration," respected Michael's self-esteem, and gently closed the argument. This short exchange lowered the tension and played an important role in preserving the friendship. As Confucius once said, "Speak with gentleness and measure, for excessive words lead to conflict." With warmth and wisdom, David skillfully guided the conversation back on track. We often run into conflicts with those closest to us because of differing opinions, but rather than trying to convince the other person, it's often better to acknowledge differences and maintain respect. In communication, the goal isn't to defeat the other side. It's to foster mutual understanding and protect the relationship. Story 3: Express your opinion strongly. If you're so smart, then you do it. Sometimes that one sentence is the answer. Normally, Jason's mom took care of the child, allowing him to focus on work from morning till night. But recently, he began criticizing her parenting more and more. "Mom, giving the kids snacks too often will create bad habits. You can't do that. Nap time has to be at the same time every day, or the child's routine will be disrupted. Mom, I bought organic food for him. How could you give him miso soup?" Jason's voice grew louder and louder as he tried to force his mom to follow what he thought was the right way to raise the child. At first, his mom stayed silent, but as Jason's stubbornness escalated, her expression grew darker. Finally, she stopped tidying up the toys, looked at him firmly, and said, "If you're so smart, then you do it." Her words weren't loud, but they hit like a thunderclap. Jason froze, realizing she wasn't wrong. Suddenly, he remembered how, while he was busy with work, he had left the child in her care. Yet he had taken her effort and sacrifices completely for granted. "If you're so smart, then you do it." At first, it might sound like a simple comeback, but in psychology, this response has powerful weight. It's often referred to as a responsibility shift technique. When someone makes demands beyond reason or criticizes unfairly, Using this approach can be very effective. With this one sentence, Jason's mom pointed out both her years of hard work and his unfair expectations. She cleverly shifted the responsibility back to him. This method, when dealing with a stubborn person, can quickly cut through conflict and force the other person to face the real issue. As the ancient Chinese general and poet Du Fu once said, "It is more important to hold yourself accountable than to blame others." Jason's mom made him realize how entitled he had been toward her efforts, filling him with a deep sense of guilt. Sometimes in our closest relationships, we demand too much from others and overlook their sacrifices. But when we put ourselves in their shoes, we often recognize our own stubbornness and bias. That day, after hearing his mom's words, Jason felt regret. He sincerely apologized and resolved to approach parenting with more openness and understanding. "Mom, I'm sorry I said too much earlier." With that, Jason changed his attitude and rebuilt a better relationship with his mother. In the days to come, you too may encounter similar situations. When communicating with loved ones, bring more understanding and wisdom, and less urgency to control or change. Every word we speak has the power to restore harmony and bring more warmth into our relationships. Story 4. Listen to me for a moment. This simple phrase is a gentle yet sincere way to soften stubbornness. One evening after dinner, the family gathered in the living room to discuss plans for their weekend trip. The atmosphere was cheerful and relaxed, until Kevin, the youngest brother, began stubbornly pushing his opinion, slowly making things awkward. "I'm telling you, that place is the best. We have to do it my way," Kevin insisted, refusing to consider the family's suggestions. "But Kevin, getting there is really inconvenient. How about somewhere closer to home?" The family tried carefully to offer alternatives, but Kevin shot down every idea. "No, I've already checked. That's the best place. You all should just follow me." As the tension grew, Kevin's older brother Daniel suddenly stepped in. He could see Kevin was getting worked up and realized it was time to defuse the situation. Looking straight at him, Daniel said calmly, "Kevin, listen to me for a moment." Kevin froze, turning his head toward Daniel. Daniel continued, his tone gentle yet firm. "I know you've put a lot of thought into this, and you want everyone to have a great trip. But this is a trip for all of us. Why not listen to some of the other ideas? If we all take part, we might find even more fun options and make better memories together." Hearing this, Kevin gave an embarrassed smile and nodded. "Okay, fine. Let's take a look at some other choices together." Instantly, the mood in the room lightened. The family began looking up other destinations, laughter returning to the conversation. "Listen to me for a moment" is a simple but powerful expression. Psychologically, it draws attention without direct confrontation, reduces tension, and helps the conversation flow more smoothly, especially when paired with empathetic lines like, "I know you've put in a lot of effort." It allows the other person to feel acknowledged and lowers their defenses. Then, by suggesting, "Let's also hear what others think," the dialogue is gently steered toward inclusiveness and constructive cooperation. This phrase doesn't just maintain the conversation, it builds understanding and respect in relationships. As the ancient Chinese philosopher Li Shizhong once said, "Listening to others is the path to improving oneself." Daniel's words not only showed his respect for his family's opinions, but also reminded everyone of the importance of mutual understanding. We often face unnecessary conflict when speaking with stubborn people. What's needed in these moments isn't argument, but sincere expression that opens the other person's heart. From this approach, we can draw wisdom to communicate more warmly and wisely in our closest relationships. Story 5. Say it firmly. That's your opinion. This one sentence can end an argument. One weekend afternoon, David met up with some old friends at a cafe. It had been a long time since they last gathered. As the hours passed, their conversation shifted toward health topics. The group began discussing popular diets and wellness trends. That's when Lisa became the center of attention. "David, I've told you, this food is amazing for your health. You have to eat it once a day." Lisa, inspired by something she'd seen on a television show, began enthusiastically explaining. David listened and nodded, but inside he felt uneasy. Lisa's claims sounded exaggerated, and the way the others were silently accepting her view made the atmosphere feel off carefully. David spoke up. Lisa, what you're saying isn't wrong, but this food might not work for everyone. Different people, different bodies, different results. But Lisa wasn't listening. She pushed back even harder. No, I saw it on the show. The experts said it too. Don't you believe them? David sighed inwardly. Her tone was becoming more aggressive, and the others had fallen silent. The mood grew heavier. So David responded more firmly. That's your opinion, but the sources I've read show different perspectives. For a moment, Lisa froze. What? Different perspectives? Where did you see that? David replied calmly. Even experts don't all agree on this. Why don't we check again? Lisa stayed quiet for a while before saying, Well, I still believe in this. And then stopped pressing. The atmosphere slowly lightened. The others began sharing their own thoughts, and the conversation returned to harmony. That's your opinion may sound simple, but it's powerful. It reduces the tension of an argument and helps keep the dialogue civil. In psychology, this approach is called separating opinions from facts. It stops a person from forcing their opinion as the only truth, preventing the debate from spiraling further, and when paired with, the sources I've read say something different, it doesn't fully reject the other person's view, but gently guides the conversation into a more open discussion. Such simple words can change the tone of a conversation and protect relationships. By using this phrase, David avoided clashing with Lisa's stubbornness and wisely steered the dialogue in a healthier direction. We all encounter people who are too forceful or stuck in their own views. In these moments, the goal isn't to force them to agree, but to calmly state your own position and set clear boundaries. Staying calm, holding your ground, and showing patience. That's the key to resolving conflicts and preserving relationships. Today we've explored how simple yet profound phrases can help us speak wisely with stubborn people and protect our peace of mind. Whether with friends, family, or colleagues, the most important thing is to stay calm and respectful, easing conflict in a peaceful way. I hope today's story gives you fresh perspective and helps you navigate relationships more wisely in daily life. If you've had similar experiences, share them in the comments. Your story may inspire others. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. Whatever you face today, remember this: every word we speak can shape our relationships. With sincerity and respect, life becomes more beautiful. This is HR. May my words be a light in your heart, guiding you forward. This is HR Whispers. May my words be a light in your heart, guiding you forward.